all of that. And welcome again to the Bothell Kenmore Chamber presentation of the State of the City of Kenmore. I'm very excited that we're going to hear from featured guests, Mayor David Baker and City Manager Rob Carlinzi. But this is a really special day because we're coming to you live from the lodge. So welcome, and I'm very excited. I want to make sure that we take a minute and thank our largest sponsors, the sponsors that make everything happen today. These are our patron members. We're so grateful that they're part of our year-round support. Without them, we couldn't do year-round activities. So thank you so much to everybody on the screen, and we're there for you. And we really also love our community partners. So these are, again, the highest level of participation that you can have for making sure that our chamber is always there for us. So together, they make sure that our chamber is here doing the mission every day. So thank you so much to our community partners and our community and our patron members. Let's do a little shake, shake, shake. I want to see your hands. Let me see your hands. Congratulations. Thank you. When we're in person, we have a lot more energy, but we're kind of sharing it out. Because I'm in Kenmore, I want to take a minute and highlight one of the coolest things that the Bothell Kenmore Chamber offers and is coordinating, and that's the Kenmore Business Alliance. They meet every month on the first Thursdays, or most Thursdays, at 8:30 a.m. That meeting is open to anyone. It's a great opportunity to provide an avenue for Kenmore residents and Kenmore businesses to get together, network, and hear what's going on with the city. So it's just a quick recap, more focused on what's happening in Kenmore. If you have questions about this, I really hope that you will reach out either to the chamber staff or to Carl Michelman, who is from Michelman Insurance Group. Carl has been the leader of this group for quite some time, and we're really, really grateful for that leadership. Thank you so much. Yay! Okay, and then also a special thank you to the City of Kenmore. For those of you who don't know, in 2018, with the support of the City of Kenmore, the Chamber made the leap from just being just Bothell to the Bothell Kenmore Chamber of Commerce. We are incredibly proud to represent both communities, and we're so thankful to City Manager Rob Carlinzi and the entire team and all the City Council members for making this possible and be willing to work with us on this. It is very, very fun. So I am now going to just tell you about some of our sponsors that are making this particular event possible. Of course, we're here. Our presenting sponsor is the Lodge. It is very beautiful, and I want to thank the Lodge, and then our event sponsors, the Puget Sound Energy and Port of Seattle, who are really helping to make sure that our whole community runs very well. I love the fact that we're hearing from them more often, and I love knowing that they have our backs and are supporting us and this infrastructure to make our lives better. And then, of course, we are so grateful to have our supporting sponsors, Cascadia College, Andrea Schaefer from Edward Jones. You might remember her as Andrea, the previous president, and the awesomeness that she is. What's Up Paddleboard and Surf. Thank you, Steve. And Heidi Bound from Real Living Northwest. Thank you for being here. She's also a Kenmore resident. And ABS Valuation. So thanks to all of our sponsors. I'm going to just give you, let's do it. Let's say thank you so much for making that happen. I'm not seeing your hands. I got to see your hands. I got to see your hands. All right. So with that, I think that we have the next step, and Eric is going to share with you a little bit more about what's happening.
Thanks, Carmen. I think we are going to move away from this PowerPoint in just a second. I want to make sure we get that all squared away before I get going here. We can see some of our guests on the top row, and make sure you're smiling because you might be on camera. I am coming to you from the 5th floor of the Lodge. I'm Eric Murray. I'm the president of Cascadia College in Bothell. And as a lot of you know, the community college also serves the city of Kenmore. And the coolest thing about where I am in the Lodge is back when this was a seminary, there were 2 side-by-side dorm rooms for those who were studying here, and they combined 2 of them into one room. And so as you can see, it's big enough for a king-size bed, and every room has some kind of wall mural of the original architectural drawings of St. Edward's when it was first built. So I find that to be completely fascinating. When you walk into this place, from the parking garage to the entry to the bar where Carmen's sitting to these rooms, every luxury detail is taken care of. I can look out and see St. Edward State Park, and I'll give you a couple other views of the room here as we get going. As you know, this lodge, this boutique hotel didn't happen very easily. There was a lot of collaboration needed from the community. And for 40 years, this site sat decaying in ruins. And some folks wanted it to continue that way as a natural state of the park. But there were other folks who, the Chamber, the Kenmore Business Alliance, the City of Kenmore, we rallied around and saw the potential for something really beautiful that could add to Kenmore's vibrancy. And so with a lot of advocacy efforts and some really visionary preservation and development ideas from Kevin Daniels and Daniels Real Estate, we now have this outstanding resource in our community. And officially, the lodge opens tomorrow. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the general, one of the managers of the lodge to tell us about this unique place. So St. Edward Park General Manager, Jenny Oxford. Jenny, you've got it.
Hi, Eric. Thank you so much. Honestly, we're super excited to have you guys here. Eric, it couldn't be more right that this was certainly not an easy undertaking for Daniels to make it happen. And just being a day away from opening, I think we can just feel the energy here. We're so excited. So I'm hoping that most of you on the call are able to stop by for the tour today, and certainly can't wait to have everybody back. You know, as soon as we're open. I will recommend getting reservations for the restaurant. We have seen a lot of early interest, so we're pretty booked up for this upcoming weekend. So that is where I am currently sitting, is in Cedar and Elm. Most of you guys have heard that Jason Wilson, you know, James Beard award-winning chef, is cooking for us, and we've been here kind of sampling everything that's been coming out of the menu or out of the kitchen, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. So I'll do a quick little tour of the space. We have just a lot of beautiful light in here, very bright when the sun shines in through the afternoon from the park, and you know, hearth oven, cooking, live fire over there, and a lot of fun stuff happening. So it's been really awesome to see it all come together. And again, we just want to thank everybody in this group for being supportive, and we just can't wait to have everybody out. Sorry, Eric, what was that?
Yeah, no worries. We've got some guests here in the room who are trying to check in. Was this the room that you were assigned? What's the number on that room? And that's the right number on the outside there? Or am I in I think I'm in 509, or am I in 504? Oh yeah, that's a door block. So Jenny, we've got some guests trying to check into my room where I'm doing the video recording. We're doing the State of the City of Kenmore address, and I'm one of the co-hosts. So what I'm going to ask is that the front desk sends someone up to help work through this. Jenny, can you help me with this?
Yeah, we're on it.
All right. Okay. All right. So you're welcome to sit and watch, or if in the hallway, we'll get somebody to you right away.
Already operating, isn't that
all right? Thank you so much. And I was just about to highlight the fact that when you check into the rooms, you get these lovely terry cloth robes, which I guess this one's going to have to go to the laundry. And the bathroom is fabulous. Take a look at the marble sinks and the shower, and all of the amenities are just awesome. We couldn't have asked for a better interlude to the State of the City of Kenmore Lodge event, let me tell you. All right, so Jenny, I'm going to unpin you, and we are going to move to Jenny. Were you done giving us the tour? And you handed it back to me, right?
Yeah, you're all set.
Okay, good. I'm removing you.
Please forgive any bumps on the road as we're getting ready to open tomorrow. Yeah. No
worries. And Carrie, I'm going to pass it off to you for our next sponsor presentation.
Gotcha. I don't know that I can follow that. I'm going to screen share here. Is that showing up for folks? Well, I wish I had one of those robes on. I'm a little jealous of Eric right now. Hi all, I'm Carrie Pravitz. I am the East King County Community and Government Relations Manager at the Port of Seattle. We're proud to sponsor this event through the Chamber and support both the Chamber as well as the City of Kenmore. Several of you were here last week, so I'm going to go a little quickly through this information, but I do have some new info that is Kenmore specific. But before I start, I also want to recognize my fellow Port colleague and your City Council member, Councilmember Melanie O'Kane, who's with us here today. Thank you, Melanie, for being here. So the Port was founded in 1911 as a special purpose government by the vote of the people. Our mission is to promote economic opportunity and quality of life in the region by advancing trade, travel, commerce, and job creation, and doing so in an equitable, accountable, and environmentally responsible manner. Oops, I forgot to put my slide here. This slide here shows the economic impact of the Port, and the 22.5 billion we have in total economic activity, it spreads throughout our entire region. So I think many of you have heard me say before, I think we should be called the Port of King County versus the Port of Seattle, but I don't think I have the ability to change the name. So with such a large economic footprint, we wanted to make sure that when we have a way to help address the region's economic recovery, but we really want to make sure that that's been being done with an equitable lens. So our focus through economic recovery has been through equity. We all know that COVID did not hit all communities equally, neither economically or physically. So similar to what you all have done at the City of Kenmore, the Port has looked internally to see what we can do to ensure that we're a racially equitable organization. We've doubled down in this area over the last year through reviewing our own policies. We established Juneteenth as a holiday prior to the state. And we're currently embarking on an equity assessment of our entire organization to see what our baseline is and where we truly need to improve. Looking into equity also means looking at what we're doing with our assets. And I was really excited yesterday when I got the press release from the City of Kenmore about renaming Squires Landing Park to honor the Coast Salish people. Similarly, in October of last year, the Port completed a 9-month process to gather community input to change the name of 6 parks along the Duwamish River. We recognize that our work operates on the ancestral lands and waters of the Coast Salish people. Our process was truly a ground-up process that empowered community members most connected with the Port's river shoreline parks to engage in the decision-making to rename them. Through the renaming process, we collectively reconnected the Duwamish River to its historical, cultural, and environmental importance. This slide here shows the names of our new parks, and I'm not going to try to pronounce them for you, but I just want to congratulate the City of Kenmore on the work you did in this area, because we all know renaming is reclaiming, rebuilding, and reconnecting. Oops, having a little slide issue here. So you probably don't think about the Port every day, but we are actually in your everyday life, whether you're shopping, selling, if you're eating, catching, or growing, and especially if you're traveling. Our airport and seaport are part of the daily life in this region, connecting Washington industries with customers and markets. And I'm very excited about the new tourism attraction we have here in the lodge at St. Edward's. That looks absolutely fantastic. So while last year we saw a huge decline in flights out of the airport, we're starting to see a steady pickup. It picked up over the holidays and New Year, and most recently with spring break. I just want to ensure you, as you're traveling through SEA, which is our rebranding of SeaTac, our Fly Healthy at SEA program has multiple ways we're focusing on the health and safety of the traveling public, our tenants, and our employees. Oops, geez, I'm sorry, I'm really having a problem with my slides today. And while our physical assets aren't here in the Kenmore area, we're definitely connected to what you're doing in this region, a lot through our economic development programs. So first and foremost, we sponsor and partner with our chambers. So I'm really excited to be the one connected with Brittany and the team here. It's a fabulous, energetic team, and I love being a part of it. And then each year, the Port awards economic development partnership grants to cities throughout the county. And in 2020, the City of Kenmore was awarded $23,450 that goes to the City of Kenmore and goes towards the business acceleration training. And I saw that Corey Hansen placed a link in the chat about that program so folks can register. It's a provides training and consultation for 8 to 12 small businesses over a 4-week program. The funds also in the 2020 grant also went towards a buy local campaign to promote the rich variety of distinctive and local businesses here in Kenmore. We're proud to partner with the city, with Kenmore, the chamber, and with all of you in your everyday life. This is a quick sample of what we're up to at the port. If you have more questions about what's happening or want to learn more, my information is on the slide and I'm in your membership directory. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Gary. And
Back to you, Eric.
I decided, since I already put the robe on, that I might as well check out the bed. The bed is awesome. And I did get some feedback that you couldn't see much from my screen. So there's a picture of that architectural drawing. Can't really see out the window. It's so bright. Check out the phone. If that doesn't bring you back a few decades, some of you may not know what that is. It has a cord, it goes into the wall. But the bed is just as awesome as the robe that I showed you, and hopefully our other guests got accommodated. I'm sure Jenny jumped right on that. I'd like to now bring forward Julian Lowe, who's our other event sponsor from Puget Sound Energy. Julian, go ahead and unmute and I will add your pin. You're good to go.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Julian Lowe, Local Government Affairs Manager with Puget Sound Energy. Used to always following in Carrie Pravitz's footsteps. Puget Sound Energy's loss was the Port of Seattle's, and all of our gain as those who utilize the port and benefit from the seaport and airport. So again, really pleased to be here for another State of Kenmore address. Puget Sound Energy really appreciates our partnership with Mayor Baker, Deputy Mayor Herbig, council members, city leadership, city staff, and I'll be sharing some additional kudos and compliments with them later on in my presentation. So many of you saw this last week, but I'm just here to talk about what Puget Sound Energy's done over the past year to support our communities during the pandemic, and then also talk about our work on a clean energy future. So Puget Sound Energy has been your electric and natural gas provider for nearly 150 years, serving 1.1 million electric customers and 900,000 natural gas customers. Our 3,100 employees live throughout both Western Washington and also Eastern Washington as well, and looking to provide affordable, safe, and reliable power. You know, this year's been a challenge for everyone. That said, today's little intro to the meeting was probably one of the most entertaining Zoom intros that I've seen. So, but anyhow, again, want to congratulate Daniels Real Estate, the entire Kenmore community. Definitely know the odyssey that St. Edward State Park, the seminary's been. Daniels does some really fantastic work to preserve historic buildings throughout our area. And so I think Kenmore is definitely should be happy to have them as a partner. But anyhow, you know, we've been doing what we can to support both our customers and then also ensuring that our employees are safe while also providing safe, reliable power. You know, we sent folks home to work virtually, those who could, and then also making sure that our essential facilities remain safe, providing PPE to our employees, and also making sure that we're providing services safely. In early March, we issued a moratorium on disconnections for non-payment. We also waived late fees, and then also are working with our residential and business customers on payment plans and payment options. We also developed the Crisis Affected Customer Assistance Program. And for those individuals who either lost work, had a member of the household lose work, or have reduced work as a result of the pandemic and the economic onsets, we stood up a $11 million bill payment assistance program. And that's for the entire Puget Sound Energy service territory. I'm also very pleased to announce that next week, we will be launching our KCAP 2 effort, and that is going to be $27 million. And definitely going to be sharing information with the Bothell Kenmore Chamber to share, but know that many elected leaders are here on this call today, and know that City of Kenmore has always prioritized and worked very hard to make sure customers of a variety of utilities are aware of bill payment assistance programs. And so definitely going to be working with city staff, city electeds to make sure that they're sharing that information via their social channels and newsletters. And then, of course, our foundation and employees also supported a variety of charitable efforts throughout our service territory. Also, I'd like to touch on what Puget Sound Energy is doing to become a beyond net zero company. And there are 3 pathways to do that. Puget Sound Energy supported the landmark CETA legislation, that's the Clean Energy Transformation Act, to be having our electric supply be carbon neutral by 2030 and carbon free by 2045, reducing natural gas sales, customer end use 30% by 2030, and then also working to electrify the transportation sectors, having less carbon intensive LNG and RNG for a variety of uses. And this is, something we're really excited about. We know that we can't do this alone, and we have to do it in partnership with our residents, businesses, and industrial customers. And we'll definitely be engaging with all of you as we move forward together on this journey. Certainly, this cleaner energy future wouldn't be possible without safe, reliable poles and wires. Certainly recognize that there have been our share of challenges in Kenmore in the past, but through millions of dollars in investment, in partnership with the City of Kenmore, partnership with city staff, we've been able to renew our franchise and make improvements to a variety of circuits, installing tree wire, and doing enhanced vegetation management. And that work continues. And so again, really want to thank our partnership with the elected leaders, the city staff on this call. And so definitely we'll be sharing more about the reliability improvements that have been made in the City of Kenmore. So again, definitely looking forward to the address later on today from Rob and Mayor Baker. So again, thank you so much, and it's great to be here again.
Hi, everybody. I'm back. I'm still in my room, and I wanted everybody to know that each room comes with an espresso coffee maker. And so, Julian, no offense, but while you were talking, I filled up the water tank, and I guess you press that, and I've got, oh, did I choose decaf? No, I chose Intenso. And apparently you just push this button here. Jenny, we're gonna need a new milk and sugar and a coffee in the room to refill what I'm using. But is that gonna work? I'm sure it's gonna work. I don't have an espresso at home, but the instructions are right here in each room. So I'm gonna enjoy a cup of coffee there in a minute. But thank you, Julian. Thank you, Carrie, for being event sponsors. Thanks again to the Lodge for being a sponsor. Hopefully that doesn't get too loud on us over here in a minute. Let's just wait for my coffee to brew. And while we're doing that, I am going to bring up Rob Carlinzi. And Rob, let me change your name for the purposes of our recording. And my coffee is still brewing, Rob. Give me just a second. And then I'm going to turn it over to you. Can you hear me okay, Rob? Okay. You are obviously all here at the State of the City of Kenmore address, and one of my most favorite person in the world, a person who started roughly about the same time I did, is Rob Carlindsey, who's the city manager for the City of Kenmore. And our partnership, not only with the chamber, but with the college, has been tremendous. I appreciate your friendship, Rob, and the life and enthusiasm you bring to the City of Kenmore. I am now going to mute myself, enjoy my coffee, and look forward to listening to your State of the City of Kenmore address.
All right, thank you, Eric. It is so good to be here. I'm so excited to give this presentation. And I gotta say, first and foremost, I love Kenmore. It is the coolest town. I love telling our story. We have so much to talk about. Now, Brittany told me I have a couple hours with you, so just get comfy and it'll be awesome. I'll keep you entertained the entire time. But just this morning, I went for a walk from my house, and I live in South Kenmore. And in 5 minutes, I was in the Bastille Forest, and then I was in the St. Edward State Park Forest, and I was able to walk around the seminary building and see what progress has been made. And the whole time I was thinking to myself, I live in the best town ever. And that's how I really feel about it. And I've been Kenmore city manager for about 9 years now, and it's been quite a ride. So. But I'm actually downstairs in the lodge, and I'm in what was the old barber shop, and now it's turned into a bar and a lounge, and it's really cool. I'm afraid to move my camera around or else I'll mess things up here, but you can see behind me is a really cool unicorn at the bar, and there's some other really beautiful artwork here. Well, it's hard to see, but I just tried to show you a mural. It was done by a local artist. It was right here. So anyway, so I also want to give a big shout out to the Bothell Kenmore Chamber of Commerce. You've already heard a couple times so far in this presentation. They're the most awesome partner. We've done a lot of great things together. Kenmore businesses have joined the chamber in greater numbers. And I think it's in part due to the fact that the Bothell Kenmore Chamber of Commerce put the name Kenmore in their name. And I'm really grateful for that. That was a couple of years ago. And I'm hoping that you guys can just maybe indulge me a little bit. And maybe for the next, 40, 50 minutes, could we call it the Kenmore Bothell Chamber of Commerce? Would that be okay? Let's give it a try just for 40 minutes. And then you can change it back to Bothell Kenmore after today. So anyway, so grateful for that partnership. And we're just so excited about the lodge. You know, I think I can say that it's a done deal now. Do you think we could say it's a done deal? Maybe tomorrow after the ribbon cutting, we can say it's a done deal. Well, we weren't always able to say that. A few years ago, it was not a done deal. It was quite touch and go at times. And a lot of work and effort from a lot of different people went in to make it happen. And it was no small thing, and it was far from a done deal quite a few years ago. But now that it's about done and we're about to open, it all seems easy now, but we got to remind ourselves how much work it really was. So grateful that they're a presenting sponsor. Also grateful for the event sponsors, Port of Seattle, Puget Sound Energy. You've heard about the grants that Port of Seattle has given us for economic development, the millions in investment that Puget Sound Energy has put into electric reliability. And it's like night and day now, the electric reliability that we're seeing in the city. So we appreciate Puget Sound Energy for investing in us. Also grateful for the supporting sponsors, Cascadia College. Eric, I hope you're always my MC. I hope that never changes. Thank you for all you do and for your friendship. Edward Jones, Andrea Schaefer, who was a past chamber board chair. Real Living Northwest Realtors, thank you. What's Up, Stand Up, Paddle and Surf, thank you for being a partner with the city. Steve Holmes and Cecilia Holmes, thanks for all you do. And ABS Valuation, we appreciate your support of this event. I'd like to now turn it over to Mayor Baker for a few remarks. Mayor Baker.
Thank you very much, Rob. I really appreciate the opportunity here. this is quite a place. And I'm certainly excited that it's finally finished. It's been a long time coming. It's been a lot of hard work, and I think it's going to be a tremendous asset to our community. All along, we've been talking about relationships and partnerships, and that with the city. And over the years, the city has developed some very strong partnerships with our legislative delegation, whether it be on the county council, on the state, or on the feds. We have been very, very fortunate to have a tremendous group of people that truly work for the residents of their community. I would really be remiss if I didn't mention right on top our county councilman, Rod Dembowski. Rod, over the years, has become a really good friend. And I guess this holds true for everybody in our delegation, but Rod cares about the community. He really cares about Kenmore. He has been there helping us with so many different things. He's been very supportive of our boathouse that will be opening here on the 26th of this month. He was able to help procure about $600,000 to see that project finished. He's also been a tremendous help with some of the flooding and culvert projects that we've had in the city. He has been able to help procure funding for these projects to help restore a lot of the salmon habitat. He's also been big on affordable housing. He worked with me on the Seattle-King County Regional Affordable Housing Task Force, and it's really been great working with him. He is there with lots of ideas and certainly has given opportunities for us to pursue a more affordable housing in Kenmore. But I think one of the biggest things, the city council years ago had said that children are important to Kenmore. We have worked very, very hard to make our community children and family friendly. And one of the things that the deputy mayor came to me and we both agreed that we needed to pursue Mary's Place. And for those of you who are familiar with Mary's Place, one of the key requirements, the only key requirement is you have a child in need. And we were able, with Rod's help, to bring Mary's Place to Kenmore. And they have been such a tremendous asset to the community. And Rod, I may be thirsty right now, but I want to thank you very much for everything that you do. And like I said, it's been a great partnership. Another great partnership that we've had is with our federal delegation. Senator Murray, Senator Cantwell, and Representative Delbeni. They have been there through the years. One of the big projects that we've been working on since 2008 was the dredging of the navigation channel, and that was just finished here in January. And they helped give us $450,000 to do a dredge materials analysis study a couple of years ago. They followed that up with $6.5 million to actually complete the dredging. And here on the current bridge project, we had help from Susan Delbeni's office with procuring right-of-way. We had to deal with NOAA and the Marine Fisheries Unit. And it even got to the point where Congresswoman Delmedi helped us track down an admiral that was on vacation to get his signature, the final signature needed to get some paperwork done to allow the bridge construction project to continue. On the state level, I cannot say enough about the relationship we have with our state delegation. I can remember back in 2010, after the last census, when the district lines were redrawn, and we were in the 32nd district, and we became in the 46th. I had a meeting then with Jerry Paulette and David Frock. We had a lunch meeting, and it was one of the best meetings I've had in my life. They have just been there with us all along. They have provided so many opportunities for the city with boathouse funding, funding with the town square, Twin Springs, Squires Landing. They've helped with $900,000 with Juanita Drive and the project that we're doing there to provide bike lanes and sidewalks. And they just this last session provided 1.5 million to help with sidewalk repair on 61st Street. So, I could go on, but we value the friendship that we have with our legislative delegation. They have just been a tremendous asset to the community. And Rob, how about if I turn it back to you?
All right, thank you, Mayor Baker. Appreciate that. I echo everything he said. Thank you so much to our state federal delegation and Councilmember Dembowski for all you do for Kenmore. All right, well, you know what I'm going to do now? I am going to share my screen and I'm going to take you guys on a little adventure, maybe a little bit back in time, a little bit forward in time. How's that? How does that sound? In fact, a little bit later in my presentation, I'm going to take you back to March of 2020. Who wants to go back to March of 2020? Anybody? Okay, well, first of all, whoops, getting ahead of myself. There we go. Okay, hope you all can see that. Well, I first want to introduce the board of directors that I report to, also known as the Kenmore City Council. There they are. And you can see that there are 7 of them. And we have a new council member, Councilmember Kugler. Angela Kugler was actually appointed by the city council just this year in January. And what happened is Councilmember Curtis, there at bottom left, he ended his term early. He decided to resign from the city council a little early. And so as a result, the city council appointed Angela Kugler to fill the rest of his term. So welcome Angela Kugler as our newest city council member. Also just going from left to right, you can see Councilmember Shrebnick there in the back row, and then Deputy Mayor Herbig, Councilmember Joe Marshall, Councilmember Melanie O'Kane, then Councilmember Curtis there bottom left, and then Mayor David Baker and Councilmember Karina File. So thank you to my city council for putting faith in me and my coworkers to try to carry out your vision. And it's important that we get a clear understanding of what the council wants, what their hopes and dreams are, and then for us to do what we can to make those dreams come true. I want to highlight a couple of awards that the Kenmore City Council received last year. One was the AWC Municipal Excellence Award. That stands for the Association of Washington Cities, and that award was for the hangar in Town Square. Now, this is not the first award that the hangar in Town Square has received, but it is the latest, and it's for the city's efforts in trying to create that downtown sense of place. Also, the city received the Housing Development Consortium's Municipal Champion Award for their efforts on affordable housing, including the mayor's leadership as a co-chair on the Regional Affordable Housing Task Force. I also want to introduce a couple of new department heads that are now just recently added to the leadership team on city staff. We have Leticia Salcido. She's the Director of Finance and Administration for the City of Kenmore. She came on board about December, I think, December of last year. And she replaces Joanne Gregory, who is our finance director for about 13 years. And I think Joanne is watching, and I just want to say hi to Joanne. Hope you're doing great in retirement. And a big welcome to Leticia. Leticia has over 20 years in municipal finance, and she comes to us from Southern California, where she was finance director of the city down there. And then we also have Leonora Palania, and she just started just last week. She's our new human resources manager, and we stole her from the Port of Seattle. And she was there in the human resources department down there at the port. And before that, she was the human resources manager at the W Hotel in Times Square, New York. And before that, she was the human resources manager at the W Hotel in Seattle. So she's got a lot of HR experience. Leonora is going to be heading up HR, but she's also going to be heading up our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative that's getting underway now. So she's definitely going to be having a lot on her hands. So let's take these two employees and think of them as examples of our service vision. Because when I hire people, I'm looking for people who are going to emulate our service vision. And what is that service vision? Well, before I go there, a few years ago, I learned that Disneyland's service vision was "we create happiness." And I thought, wow, that's what Kenmore does. I want that service vision, but well, it was already taken by Disney. So we worked with the team a few years ago, and my coworkers and I came up with our own internal service vision. And here it is. Propelling Kenmore upward, we create a thriving community where all people love where they live. So that's what we get to do. And that's what gets me up in the morning, is being able to come in and help create a thriving community where all people love where they live. So how do we do that? In other words, what are we in the business of doing? Well, I'm about to show you a really cool list. Are you ready? We're in the business of building a sense of community and a sense of place, saving lives and reducing human suffering, being stewards of the public's resources, facilitating democracy, helping local businesses succeed, protecting the environment, beautifying our city, planning for a better future, asking, where's the fun? And we do other things too, but this is just the short list. But who wouldn't want to work for an organization that does just one of those things? And yet we get to do all of those things. So it's pretty cool. So let's take a look back at 2020. How did 2020 go? Well, of course, there was the pandemic, and yes, I'm going to talk about that. But before I do, I want to point out many of the things that we got done, what I call widgets, and that's not a very good term, but just all the tasks and workload items that we do on a regular basis. Even with this pandemic going on, we were able to get a lot of things done. And this gives you an example of what all the things the city does, and I call it no small chore. So here we go. Here's, let me just fire off a few of the things that we got done in 2020. So we issued 685 building permits. We received 1,100 service requests from our residents, maintained 213 stormwater ponds and vaults, took in 198 code enforcement complaints, maintained 4,800 catch basins for our surface water system, maintained 70 miles of stormwater pipe. The police responded to 3,300 calls for service, 611 jail days. Police made 177 arrests. We maintained 130 lane miles of roadway, maintained 2,400 street signs, maintained 146 acres of parks, conducted almost 2,100 construction inspections, 500 court filings, $19 million spent on transportation capital projects. And just to take this onto another page, we took in 335 public records requests, and 7,000 documents were produced in response to those requests. We distributed over $500,000 in CARES Act funding, and we processed almost 3,000 invoices. So that just gives you an idea of the day-to-day things we do, in addition to all the other initiatives that are going on. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. I like not sharing my screen so that I can see you all a little bit better. There, that's much better. Okay. Okay, so back to the question, how did 2020 go? Well, with that as a backdrop of all the things we're able to get done, let's talk about that pandemic. So let's go back in time to March 2020. I know that might be painful. It is for me. It was a stressful time. Gigantic question marks were popping everywhere. Tons of uncertainty. What's going to happen to our health? Are we all going to get really sick? Are our friends and loved ones around us going to die? What's going to happen to our finances? Are people going to keep their jobs? All these things were swimming around in our heads, and we had to scramble. We had to act and respond. And it took the entire team effort to make that happen. All hands were on deck. So we did what we could to watch the guidance, and you remember masks, no masks, all those things, and things were constantly changing. But we went pretty quickly to virtual city council meetings. City Hall was closed to the public, and then we were able to continue to provide services online and telephonically. We had all of our office employees work from home. Our first responders, police, fire, they still had to be out there. Their jobs couldn't be telecommuted. And our field employees, our maintenance workers, we kept them home for a little while, but we knew we had to get them back out there to maintain our infrastructure assets. And so they went out there and braved the world out there and took those risks so that they could keep our city safe. And then I'm happy to say that our capital projects stayed on track, but it was not without a lot of creativity and improvising by our contractor and our engineering team. So especially the bridge project, that took a lot of creative thinking, and I want to publicly thank John Vicente, Terry Bielenberg, and the engineering team for the work they did to keep that project going and on budget, despite the delays in arrival of major components of the bridge and things like that. Also, we received about $1 million in CARES Act funding, and we were able to distribute about $500,000 of that to local businesses and to the community. We also used a lot of the funding to help us pay for pandemic-related costs. And we handed out, with the chamber as a partner, we handed out over 150 pandemic supply kits for businesses. And the chamber was a huge help, and we couldn't have done it without them. On the city's finances side of the equation, again, March, April of last year, we did not know what to expect. So we braced for impact. And we predicted a 25% drop in our sales tax. And we predicted drops in other revenues as well. And we quickly made cuts to the budget. We cut over $1 million in discretionary spending in the budget. I'm grateful to say that we did not have to cut staff or furlough staff or anything like that. And then that ended up being pretty good news in the end. Our sales tax did not drop by 25%. And again, where did we get 25%? We just picked a number. We did not know back then what things were going to do, but it did not drop by 25%. It actually, sales tax actually went up by 4% over the previous year. So we saw an increase in sales tax. If I had time, I would give you the theories why that happened. Also, building permits, our building permit department and planning, they were able to keep processing building permits even from home. We had construction inspectors that were out there with safety protocols, continuing their inspections. Building permit revenue was 10% higher than the previous year, 10% higher. Again, we thought it would be a big drop. So in the end, we actually improved our ending balance in the general fund by 1.1 million. So that was kind of the silver lining, despite all the suffering and pain and everything that was going on. Also, another big thing that happened in May of 2020 was the murder of George Floyd and the justifiable public outcry that resulted. And again, that rocked everybody's world. And my city council took leadership and they acted quickly. And they directed us to conduct listening sessions through, kind of modeled through the Obama Foundation's Mayor's Pledge. So the city council signed that pledge, and we, the city council, chief of police, Brandon Moen, and I, we had some listening sessions with the community on police use of force. And they were well attended, and we took lots of notes. And Chief Moen produced a report that he presented to the city council based on the listening sessions and also other research that was out there. And he presented some recommendations when it comes to policing and use of force, things that we can do locally, also things we can recommend to the King County Sheriff's Office that provides policing for us, and also some reforms at the state. And then we also created a path forward for a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy and program. And we created what we call a plan for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Other things that happened in 2020 is the city council recognizes the urgency of the climate crisis we're in, and they directed us to create a path forward for creating a climate action plan. And we got going on that in 2020 and produced the calculation of our greenhouse gas emissions, both for the city and for the community. And that climate action plan process and creation continues. The city council also addressed some affordable housing issues, including adopting an accessory dwelling unit ordinance that makes it more flexible and easy for residents to add ADUs to their homes. And then we also, with the help of a task force of Kenmore residents, we produced a financial sustainability plan that gets us on a path of financial sustainability through 2028. And the task force kind of balanced that plan with a combination of reductions in expenditures and also revenue enhancements. And the task force took that to the city council in September of 2020. And the council made some modifications and adopted that plan in October. Also, our capital projects, like I said, stayed on track. The boathouse got completed that the county, thanks to Councilmember Dembowski, helped fund, and also our state delegation helped fund. We also got a contribution from the school district because we're going to have high school rowing programs out of that boathouse there at Rhododendron Park. The Sammamish Bridge project got underway. The bid was awarded and it got underway last year, which was huge. And then our walkways and waterways projects under the Walkways and Waterways bond measure continue to make progress. So what's in store? Now let's look into the future a little bit. What's in store for 2021? Well, we're still in a global pandemic. And I look at the numbers frequently. So far, 11 Kenmore residents have died from COVID-19, including 1 so far this year. So we had 10 die last year, 1 died this year. We've had a total of 56 hospitalized cases. On the vaccine front, it looks like, this is as of yesterday, 71% of Northeast King County residents age 16 and over have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. So Northeast King County, 71%. That's better, definitely better than the national trend. And it's actually a little bit better than the county and state trend as well. So when are we going to get back to normal? Does anybody know? Does anybody know when we're going to get back to normal? I don't. We're hearing that companies at Microsoft say that their employees can come back to their offices in September. Some are saying July. For us, the jury's still out on that. We're going to just keep watching that. When will we be able to be back in crowded groups with, all the events that we used to have? Next year, maybe. We've got a couple of events planned this year. One is a drive-in movie at St. Edward State Park. Another one is an in-person concert with lots of social distancing. That's going to be in mid-July. So I don't know the answer to that question. And if anybody does, feel free to jump in. So that's one pandemic. But you know what? We also have other pandemics going on. And I was thinking about that this morning on my walk. We have the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's easy to call that a pandemic. But there's other pandemics going on. We have an affordable housing crisis that's a pandemic of sorts. It's getting bad. A house that was worth $400,000 in 2012 here in Kenmore is now approaching $900,000. And, I feel like, like a monoculture is starting to come in, and where High-paid tech workers and high-paid professionals can afford to buy a $900,000 Rambler. But what about the rest of the diversity of workers? They're being left behind. And it used to be that you could buy a humble Rambler without having to be a millionaire. So the city council is making that a high priority. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Another pandemic that's going on. And by the way, you know, I like to be positive, right? I don't like to be negative, but I got to talk about these things because these are things we're spending time on, and it's important that we do. But we have a climate crisis, and the health of our ecosystems are in jeopardy. That's a global pandemic. What about racial and social injustice that's going on in our country? That's a pandemic. And here's one more pandemic that too many people, unfortunately, don't think about a lot, or maybe just think of, well, it's just the cost of doing business. And that's traffic fatalities. Traffic fatalities is a pandemic that I think does not get enough attention. So Smart Growth America produced a report just recently, and in the last decade, there were 15,000 deaths where a pedestrian was struck by a motor vehicle. Or I should say, did I say 15? 58,000 deaths over the last decade where a pedestrian was struck and killed by a motor vehicle. That is a 45% increase over the previous decade. It's a problem. And those are just, I'm not talking about cyclists, I'm talking about pedestrians. And I'm not talking about other, car-to-car collisions, just car on pedestrian. 58,000 people dead in our country. The Vietnam War, I think, had in the neighborhood of 54,000 US soldiers died. So are we willing to accept the equivalent of a Vietnam War every decade on our pedestrians? We've been making efforts, and I believe the bulk of the work is done in street design and slowing down cars. We've made some progress. In previous years, we're averaging 2 or 3 pedestrian bicycle collision deaths and serious injuries per year. We were averaging 2 or 3 per year. In the last 3, it's been 0. And so I think our efforts are making progress. We still have a ways to go. The walkways and waterways projects and all the other things we're doing are going to make great progress in slowing down cars. But another thing that we can do is look at traffic congestion itself. Now, when we survey our residents, we ask them open questions and say, what's on your mind? What's troubling you? And the number one question, or the number one concern we always get when we survey our residents is congestion. There's too much traffic. That's the number one response we always get. Well, traditionally, we like to think, well, let's reduce congestion by widening the roads. Let's make more lanes. But studies have shown, recent studies have shown that actually makes congestion worse. What? Widening lanes and adding more lanes makes congestion worse? How can that be? Well, there's this thing called induced demand. If you widen the roads, the cars will come. And it makes the roads even more unsafe. You can actually reduce congestion in 2 ways. Well, you do it by reducing automobile trips. And how do you do that? 2 ways. 1, create more local destinations in neighborhoods so that people don't have to get in their cars and go to Costco in Woodinville or whatever. And you can also make travel more easy and comfortable for alternate modes of transportation, peds, bikes, and transit. And there's a recent study that shows that the cities that make travel most comfortable for peds and bikes also have the least congestion. Think about that. The cities that make travel most easy for peds and bikes also have the least congestion. That may sound counterintuitive, but that's the data. Okay, so what are we doing about these pandemics? Well, let me show my screen again. Because the city council is all over this. They set the vision and the goals, and Here are their, trying to get it to advance. There we go. Here are the top five priorities that the City Council has established. Increase and preserve the options for affordable housing. And they've got the Planning Commission working on a bunch of things this year. Continuing on that climate action plan that I told you about. I also want to emphasize that we do this every day. We have coworkers at the city dedicated to protecting our environment, including our streams and rivers. I actually have two coworkers that I'd like to introduce. Ashley Edelman and Art Simpson. I'd like to have them just share what they do on a daily basis and what it means to the environment. Art, do you want to go first?
Yes, sir. Hi, everybody. My name is Art Simpson. I'm an environmental services technician for the city. I've been with Kenmore for about 11 years next month. And kind of our program in the Environmental Services Division is kind of largely based on our NPDES permit from the State Department of Ecology, and that stands for National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. So it basically is a permit that Ecology issues the city that allows us to discharge stormwater into receiving water bodies such as rivers, lakes, streams, wetlands, all that. So there's kind of a lot of different requirements that the city has to fulfill those permit obligations. So kind of on a day-to-day basis, I'm out there doing a variety of different things, sure that we are following our permit requirements. So I do kind of a lot of inspections. Primarily, I go out and look at drainage facilities on that are privately maintained. So like businesses, commercial properties, a lot of multi-family properties like condo complexes and apartment complexes. So I'm out there pulling catch basin lids, checking for pollutants and excessive sediment and catch basins, structural issues. I'm looking at their ponds and their vaults, the water quality components of their drainage facilities that might treat some of the water. And kind of through that process, I'm developing relationships with business owners, property owners. It's a good opportunity to kind of educate a lot of these people about the importance of water quality, keeping these systems clean and maintained. It also helps prevent flooding and that's kind of a one component of my job I really like. It once you kind of get a point across to some of these folks, help them understand why it's important, and like this water is a lot of times it's not treated, it just discharges directly into the stream. So it's important to make sure this stays clean. In addition to that, I get involved with the Development Services Department. I go out to construction sites occasionally. I'm looking at what they call temporary erosion sediment control, making sure that stormwater on construction sites is not leaving the site dirty. So that's another big component of our program. And I also go out and look at systems kind of when the construction is complete. I go out and do inspections to make sure that everything they built is meets city standards. And then I also kind of help maintain the city's GIS component, geographic information system. So we have we map all our stormwater system, public and private in the city. So with obviously a lot of development going on in Kenmore. It takes some work to keep that maintained and updated. So I'm going in there and and adding all that new drainage infrastructure to our maps. And those are also available on the city website if anyone is interested in checking those out. So yeah, it's just a little brief overview of what I do day to day. You know, like I said, I really enjoy this job. I kind of had an environmental focus in college, and when I was kind of looking for a career, I really wanted to find some type of job where I could work outside a lot, and also just some type of element of environmental protection. So I feel very lucky to have found a position where I get both of those, and Kenmore is a great place. Love working for the city. So I think with that, I will pass it over to Ashley.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, so a lot of overlap with Art's duties and mine, but a little bit of background about me, very similar to what Art said as well. I studied biology at UW, and I really wanted to find something that would very tangibly help conserve wetland and watershed ecology. And there were very few things out there that had such a, point A to point B impact as what we do here. And like Art said, he does a lot of the private facility inspections. I do all of the public facility inspections, so city owned, maintained, inspected, all of those things. And as Rob mentioned, 217 of them every year. Art did them before I got here, but now those are a big portion of what I do every day. And on top of that, we also, reduce pollution by source tracing, identifying illicit connections, illicit discharges. So whenever we get a call or a service request saying, hey, I saw this guy dumping a bunch of oil down a catch basin, we elicit that response. We get there as soon as possible and try and, stop the pollution in its tracks before it does reach the receiving water bodies. And on top of, the direct pollution like that, we also respond to a lot of flooding calls, and all of our maintenance is proactive and preventative to help reduce flooding, both in the watersheds and to residents in Kenmore. And on the water quality side of things, I also do the total maximum daily load, which is the TMDL monthly fecal coliform bacteria monitoring. So every month I go out to 9 sites and check on the bacteria loads as a permit requirement, as well as a bunch of other jurisdictions in the area do it as well. And keeping an eye on bacterial pollution and just other pollutants in the watershed, as well as I always check for, erosion. And I've seen salmon or trout a couple times, so it's always a fun part of my month to go out there and, take a sample at all of our streams. And yeah, and we're also taking on the beach monitoring of swimming beaches in-house starting this year. So looking forward to going to Log Boom once a week every summer, or all summer. And then, yeah, so kind of the last component that I do that I really enjoy is focusing on heading up our education outreach program. And the concerts I've missed dearly last year, and I'm very excited for the one we get to do this year, but engaging with the community in that way is so rewarding, and being able to share their message of clean water and, all of these wonderful things that we get to participate in with the Kenmore community.
All right, thanks Art and Ashley so much. I specifically wanted them to come and share this with you because I wanted you all to see more than just me, which I'm a talking head, but I have coworkers that put real boots on the ground to make a physical difference in our community. And they're all about reducing pollutions, creating clean water for our streams and rivers, and they actually physically make it happen. So I wanted you to see some of the people, some of the amazing people that I get to work for. Just these other council goals, I've talked about these, the walkways and waterways improvement projects. Our legislative delegation has helped us big time in funding these, including Representative Valdez, who was able to get us millions in the transportation budget for the Sammamish River Bridge, and also Representative Paulette and Senator Frocht as well. for the Juanita Drive and 68th Avenue. So just a big shout out to Representative Valdez and our other members of our legislative delegation for working so hard for us. I want to end now just with some concluding remarks. At the City of Kenmore, we have what we call core values that are internal to our organization. We have 3 core values: action, passion, and connection. And I'd like just here in the last couple minutes just to talk about the last core value, which is connection. Connecting with people, connecting with our environment, connecting on a human level, a human scale with our community and with each other. And syndicated columnist David Brooks talks about this in terms of seeing each other deeply. He expounded on this idea at a university forum in 2019. He says, many of our society's great problems flow from people not feeling seen and known. To me, the core democratic trait that we all need to get a little better at is the trait of seeing each other deeply and being deeply seen. It's a question of understanding each other. I believe the diversity, equity, and inclusion work we'll be embarking on this year will help us see each other deeply and be deeply seen. This concept, if we can practice it, will prove extremely helpful as we combat racial inequity in the system that supports it. As we see each other more deeply, we will drive out fear, and in particular, fear of losing power or position. Instead, we'll learn that power, like love, is not a zero-sum game. Power gained by one group or person does not mean a corresponding amount of power lost by another group or individual. And I've seen this concept play out in my career, and I can see it playing out here in our community. Despite the pandemic and the recession, the Kenmore City Council's vision and priorities set forth for 2021 propel Kenmore upward on an upward trajectory and to new heights. What we have planned for and budgeted for this year, with the community's help, will position us well to be on the right side of this special hinge point in our nation's history. Shortly before he died, Congressman John Lewis said, "There's something brewing in America that's going to bring people closer and closer together." I wholeheartedly agree. Our best days are still ahead of us, and I am thrilled to be on the Kenmore team and part of this community. In closing, may I say our organization's service vision one more time. Propelling Kenmore upward, we create a thriving community where all people love where they live. Thank you for this opportunity to tell our story, and a huge thank you to the Chamber for being such a great partner and for producing this event. Thank you.